Greetings. So I just saw someone mention that today, the 23rd of July, is actually the birthday of Haile Selassie. And so I felt inspired to make a very quick video. I think I'm going to do this more often, make these super short videos, just sort of freestyle it and touch on an interesting topic. And I just wanted to make a very short video on his name, where I compare it in different scripts that are typical of different Semitic languages, ultimately using those scripts as a way of sort of bridging the gap from the Ge'ez script to the Hebrew script, to the standard Hebrew script, the Ashuri script, or even just the Hebrew language, because I think at least a few people find these comparisons interesting. I certainly find it interesting, and so that's going to be the short exercise of this brief video. And so without further ado, here is the name Haile Selassie in the Ge'ez script. And as has been covered in previous videos, and as some know, the Ge'ez script descends from the what's known as the South Arabian script, also known as the Musnad script. So I'm going to transcribe each character of this name. And by the way, real quick, this isn't it's not his birth name, Haile Selassie. If I'm not mistaken, it was his name that he took on at the time of his coronation, or I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was his name that he received at baptism, I'm not sure. But whatever the case, think of it as similar to a title or something like that. It's certainly not his birth name, right? But whatever the case, Haile Selassie means power of the Trinity. That's the popular translation of the name. And so transcribing each character into the corresponding characters of the South Arabian script, we get this. And however, it's worth noting at this point, oh, by the way, and you may notice that some of these characters look more similar than others. The scene at the end, they certainly look alike. The lams sort of look alike. The ya sort of looks alike. The ha at the beginning doesn't quite look like the corresponding Ge'ez character. And as for the equivalent of the sheen, which I'm going to touch on in a moment, it looks like it's tipped on its side, so it's facing in a different direction. But whatever the case, I hope the viewer can see the similarities. And now that I've transcribed this the Ge'ez words of this name into the corresponding characters of the South Arabian script, I can transcribe it into the standard Arabic script. But before I do so, it should be noted that the Ge'ez script goes from left to right. Apparently in antiquity, it once was written from right to left, but from somewhere, if I recall correctly, from roughly around the 4th century onwards, it's been written left to right. However, the South Arabian script was written right to left, like the scripts of all other Semitic languages. And so I'm going to quickly reverse that second line so that it runs right to left instead of left to right. So now it looks like this. And now I can transcribe these characters into the corresponding characters of the standard Arabic script. And some might take some issue with this transcription on this third line, because, for example, it begins with the Arabic ha instead of the Arabic ha. People would say it's Haile Selassie, it's not Haile Selassie. And then also you might notice there's a sheen in there, right? They say it's not Selassie, it's Selassie. And what I would say is that, I'm not an expert in this area, but it is my understanding that over time, some of these characters were pronounced slightly differently, or put another way, perhaps Amharic, or the influence of Amharic results in, for example, the character now called Saud or Saad being pronounced differently, while it was once pronounced Shat or Shout. Nonetheless, that character, that first character in the second name, does correspond to the South Arabian and thus standard Arabic sheen, and not the seen, right? And so that's why I'm translating it this way. But this will become somewhat academic, somewhat unimportant, as we now transcribe it into the corresponding characters of the standard Hebrew script, or the block script, the Ashuri script, right? Sometimes called the Assyrian script. And at this point, really, the difference between ha and cha, or sheen and seen, is somewhat obfuscated, as you have the same single character for either phoneme in those doublets, in those pairs. you would need a diacritic if you weren't certain how to pronounce these words. And now, looking at this transcription into the standard Hebrew script, I'd like to take a look at it. So regarding the first word in the name, right, this Hebrew word, while they're pronounced somewhat differently, the consonantal structures are the same. This consonantal structure in Hebrew gives us the word, for example, Haile and other related words. And that word, is used for noble warriors and that kind of thing. And it means strength, but it also can mean power. And that's interesting because the first word in Haile Selassie means power, is popularly translated power. Again, the name or title is understood to mean power of the Trinity, Haile, power, Selassie, Trinity, right? So Hayil, or at least, this consonantal structure, this Het Yod Lamed in Hebrew gives rise to words which, among other things, can mean power. As for the second word, some might notice that that's the exact spelling of the word shalosh, which is the word for three. However, some might note that whether it's shalosh or shlosha, depending on the gender of the noun that is modifying, usually now is spelled with a wa, right? But in biblical Hebrew, there are many instances of shalosh being spelled without the wa. And so that's interesting. So the first word can mean power, or, that consonantal structure can give rise to words that mean power. And the second word is the word for three in Hebrew. So, power, three, and it corresponds to this, to the words in this is name, which means power of the Trinity, Trinity, threeness. You get the point. And that's it. This wasn't intended to be a serious video. I just wanted to make a very quick video, sort of doing this quick comparison because I know at least a few people find it interesting. I certainly find it interesting, and I'll probably be making other little, brief explorations like this in the future. And so on that note, if anyone found this interesting, I'm always interested in your comments. And on that note, God bless.